the days on the market matter?
Sometimes, but not all the time. So last year we sold 5 properties that had been on the market 8 years or longer. Okay, so that's a long time. But the market was so hot and inventory was so slow that eventually they went under contract and they sold. So these properties were 100 acres in Silcope. It was 8 acres in downtown Pittsburgh. It was 184 acres in Siler City, 300 acres in Bear Creek, and 20 acres in Siler City. And all these properties were a lot different. So if you have a house in Chatham Forest right now, a subdivision in Pittsburgh, and that thing was on the market for 32 days, yes, that's a red flag. But like I have like 57 acres that's been on the market for 7-8 months, and everybody's calling down and saying, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? And what people don't understand is the only way to purchase these large tracts of land are cash buyers. And so, for example, that 300 acres that I had just south of town, that was $1.5 million. Well, it sat on the market for 8 years, and those sellers were going up on price. Like, we started out at like 1.2, and then they went 1.3, 1.4. They kept on going up in price. And so you have to have someone that has 1.5 million liquid that wants 300 acres in Pittsburgh. And not only do they have 1.5 million liquid, but they're willing to invest that into raw land. So you're probably talking about someone that has like 10 or 20 million liquid if they're willing to invest in raw land like that. So just because a large piece of land has days on the market doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the property. It's that raw land lacks liquidity, and you have to find the right piece of land in the right area at the right price, and you have to have someone that has the cash. So a lot of agents that aren't familiar with land, and a lot of buyers that aren't familiar with land, call us and say, what's wrong with this property? It's been 272 days in the market. There's nothing wrong with it. Just land has more days in the market. Similarly, we had a residence next to the fruitcake factory, and this was an 1850s farmhouse, and houses are selling. Houses are selling in, like, at this time, the market was so hot, houses were selling in 2 and 3 days. Well, this was an 1850s farmhouse. 10 acres was on one side of the road, 54 acres was on the other side of the road, but it's 64 acres, okay, and for $800,000. And that property was on the market for 3 or 4 months. So that one had a double stigma. It had a lot of days on the market, and it was a residential with a lot of days on the market, but it was very, very land heavy. There's no way anybody was going to buy that with a traditional mortgage. It ended up being an 80-20 loan. And so, so that was on the market for 4 months. Well, we were asking $800,000. Guess how much the sellers got? They got $800,000. I mean, just because things have days on the market should not stigmatize a property if it's raw land, commercial, or a home with acreage.